In the video about the components, I mentioned that the components are reusable. You may be wondering how. What about, let's suppose if we want to greet three people right now, let's suppose we have used greet over here thrice, you are seeing hello world thrice. What about if we have names over here? Does that mean that we're going to create three components separately and w- and we are going to use them and again we are going to import them? No, you can actually use a feature of React that's basically called as props, that are properties. So you can use the props in order to pass the data to these components, and those components can then render that data and obviously can show it over here. Let's see how that can work. So let's just say we want to create a property called as name, and we can first call it John. In the next one, we may have another name that could be Toe, and in another name we can have Alex, for example. So, but for now, nothing happens because we actually haven't used the properties inside the greet component. The way it can work is that you will need to obviously use props inside the curly brackets. Then you need, because we are going to actually have uh, more than one line, so we should use over here our return statement inside the functional components. So that should be okay, good. And next is, for example, rather than the world, we want to have the names. So for that, we will actually use the curly brackets, and we'll type in props dot whatever the name of the property. So for example, in this case, it was name. So we'll go in props dot name. So that's the way how you can use the properties. When we do that, John, hello Do, hello Alex. What about if we want to use multiple properties? For instance, maybe we want to have their code names as well. So we'll just go in again in that, and we'll create a property called as code, and we'll give it, let's suppose, 1, 2, and 3. We'll save it. Nothing happens over here because again we haven't used it. Now we can actually go in, and just like in the previous case, we will just use the name of the property and they will appear over here. Obviously, you can use HTML to make them look further better. So that's something I can do it. So that's I've done it. What about if I want to use this property in the next line, not on the same line. So let's obviously create this, and I can do that maybe in a paragraph, let's say, and let's see what happens. Oh, we got an error. Why? Because obviously there's a requirement by JSX that it needs to all your HTML in the return statement need to be wrapped under one element. So that's something we need to do it, and so let's do that. Now it should be all good. Yep, it's working, and that's how you can use the props in the functional components. What about? I mean, we had another type for the component that was basically the class components. What about using props over here? How we can do that? It's again, you don't need to mention over here the props. First thing first, I mean, firstly, that's you need to do it. And there is a reserved keyword, this, that we will actually be using over here. So let's go back to app, and over here let's just create a property and call it name again. And maybe I'll just use my name over here, that'd be better. And let's see what happens. Nothing happens over here because we haven't used the property yet. So we'll go over here. This time, the difference is this is basically a keyword that we are going to use. We are going to reference it to props, and will now actually use the prop name, which is the property this.props.name. Welcome shop. Again, if you prefer to actually have more than one property, you can do that over here as well. Uh, I mean, you can use as many properties as you want. So you'll just go in, and again, if let's suppose we want to have more than one line, so we will wrap it inside a div, and we'll actually use it over here. P this dot props dot code, and this should be good now. So it appears over here. If let's suppose I want to make it something similar to the other one, I can do that. One more thing that you should know is that the properties are immutable, means you cannot change them. What does that mean? So, for example, let's just go back over here, and you want to actually change, I mean, give it a some name. So, for example, I may want to declare it props.code equals to 123 before even, I mean, just change it around, let's suppose. Can it work? You may actually, nothing happens. In fact, you get an error. Cannot assign to read only property code of object. The reasons is because obviously props are immutable, means the values cannot be changed. So that's basically an edge as well, and obviously a disadvantage. So that can be covered, or can be replaced by another sort of a method or way that we will obviously learn through later on.